Alexander Parks invented the first man-made plastic. After testing properties of natural rubber, he started forming an idea of a fully synthetic formula for a building material that could be easily molded while it was hot. He found a method of waterproofing fabrics by thin coats of rubber in 1841. He continued working with rubber for the next 10 years, until he created the first man-made plastic by dissolving cellulose nitride in alcohol and camphor-containing ether in 1856. Different types of plastics have been made since then. Bakelite plastic was invented in 1909. Acrylic, nylon, polystyrene, and vinyl were created in the 1930s. Polyester was created in the 1940s. The 1950s started a big boom of disposable plastics to make it easier for the housewife to spend more time with the family instead of cleaning up, because the wife's duties were to care for her family then. It became a throwaway society for convenience and ease in everyone's life. Plastic has become one of the most used materials worldwide, but over recent years it has been realized that plastic is not as great as it has been brought up to be. 300 million tons of plastic is produced annually. 157,500 tons is in the ocean now. The organisms in the ocean and birds around the area think the smaller pieces of plastic is food. They eventually starve to death if they don't choke first. Once they decompose, this plastic stays behind ready for its next victim. The plastic also serves as a transportation device for invasive species. The invasive species spread across the ecosystem by taking over native plants and species that depend upon them, reducing native biodiversity. This impact can be any number of the following: reduced light, moisture, and nutrients in space available to native species, loss of natural habitat for native insects, birds, and other wildlife, reduced forage potential for insects, birds, and other wildlife, competition with and replacement of native species, reduced integrity and stability of slopes, hillsides, and flowing water shorelines, change to soil chemistry, and requirement of significant cost and resources to treat. That's not the only problem. BPA, bisphenol A, is the main man-made chemical in plastic. A single plastic bottle releases 0.2 to 0.8 nanograms of BPA every hour. It may not sound like a big deal, but that adds up when we consume the food that has been in plastic for a large amount of time, and when you realize how much of our food has been in plastic. In 2010, the National Toxicology Program created a 5-level scale of concern regarding the possibilities of humans of being affected by BPA. There was negligible concern for reproductive toxicity in adult men and women and formations in newborns. It expresses minimal concern for developmental toxicity in fetuses, infants, and children. That include effects on the mammary gland that is responsible for producing breast milk and may cause early puberty in females. And there is some concern for developmental toxicity for fetuses, infants, and children. That includes effects on the brain, behavior, and the prostate gland. Now I was wondering how long it took for different plastics to break down and how. I couldn't carry out an experiment because I would be dead before I could finish. So I had to research it instead. A plastic milk carton takes 5 years to break down. A foam cup takes 50 years to break down. Plastic containers take 50 to 80 years to break down. Aluminum soda cans can take 50 to 200 years to break down. And plastic bags can take 10 to 20 years or 200 years, depending on the type of plastic it is. Plastic bottles can take 450 years to break down. Fishing line takes 600, and glass takes thousands of years to break down. The plastics break down into smaller and smaller pieces, but it never fully breaks down into the point of decomposing. So the plastic continues on forever. Humans continue to wreck the earth and its ecosystem unless we do something about it. Recycling and reducing our plastic use, even if just switching from plastic water bottles to a reusable water bottle, can make a difference. Otherwise, by 2050, the oceans could have more plastic than organisms.